Our story starts off on the outskirts of Silent Hill, in an unspecified year. Harry Mason and his daughter Cheryl are making their way to creepy Silent Hill for a vacation, for some reason. A biker cop gives Harry a look and then passes him by. Moments later, in black and white, Harry sees the copless motorcycle now crashed on the side of the road. Instead of slowing down and checking it out like a good person, Harry keeps his foot on the gas pedal and nearly hits a ghost in the middle of the street, swerving at the very last moment and getting into a car wreck. Soon after, Harry wakes up alone in his wrecked Jeep to find his daughter missing, and after taking a few steps he sees Cheryl in the fog and gives chase, following her down a creepy alley that gets a whole lot creepier. After entering a gate at the end of the alley, in the distance you can hear a creepy siren droning on. And of course, I have to show off this iconic camera angle shot that they tried to replicate in the movie with the incorrect character. Suddenly it grows dark because someone's fucking with God's light switch. Harry having only a lighter at his disposal. After passing a creepy wheelchair, a bloody gurney, and enough blood to make Barry Burton stop and stare for 5 minutes, it isn't then until Harry's path is blocked by a bloody corpse rotting on a gate. Does the horror of that sink into you, or is it just me? Harry is then attacked by a pack of naked gray third graders, double-wielding Call of Duty knives. After running around getting your kneecaps chewed on, Harry finds himself trapped in an area where these monsters seem to get the best of him. Just before succumbing to your wounds, you wake up in a cafe with a biker cop that you passed by and seemingly crashed on her bike earlier. She introduces herself as Sybil Bennett, saying she doesn't know what's going on in this town, and she will go to get help, giving Harry a gun for some reason. Keep in mind, Sybil at this point hasn't seen the horrors of Silent Hill yet. She only knows that the town seems empty when it shouldn't be, and something is happening. After arming a citizen and leaving, Harry grabs a map and is about to follow Sybil, but a small red radio begins to blare static. Harry, interested, after grabbing said radio, the glass at the front door of the cafe is then broken. And there's another jump scare of a window breaking, and a fucking pterodactyl bursts through the window, and using his newly acquired gat, Harry bursts a few caps and shuts that Jurassic Park shit down. Harry, now feeling like Dirty Harry, returns to the alleyway where the naked knife-wielding children made him pass out like a little bitch just a few minutes ago. He finds his daughter's sketchbook and the path blocked. There's a few pages torn out of her sketchbook saying only to school on it. After spending some time taking in the local sights and sounds of the destroyed remains of Raccoon City, Silent Hill, again, why wouldn't anyone want to take a vacation here? Harry finds more torn out pages giving him a little bit more detailed instructions. 2 sheets sitting in a pile of blood saying only Doghouse and Levin Street. After arriving outside the house, we just walk in like a boss because we got a gun and nobody's gonna make us faint out like a little bitch again. But this house is both extremely clean and extremely empty. After exiting out the back door, the siren starts blaring again and the sky begins to get dark. Harry now has a magical flashlight that comes out of nowhere, and through the backyard of this house we enter the school that looks really strangely similar to the school from Kindergarten Cop. We come to a bathroom that sounds like a little girl is exorcising a diarrhea demon out of her colon. And we come across a banging locker. And it's not who let the dogs out, but who let the cats out. Yeah, that joke is just as dated as this game. We find a desk with carvings and insults written on it. Whoever this kid was, they were either very mentally deranged or extremely bullied. Either way, the teacher of this fucking class sucks at their job and needs to be tossed into a fucking volcano. We are attacked once again by naked, knife-wielding children. We dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge our way into the Resident Evil-looking clock tower. We climb down and back up, and suddenly we are in a darker version of the same place we just left. Not darker in the light sense, but more darker in a scarier. It's a scarier place. You get what I'm saying. It's here we find our first symbol and our first sign that shit is about to go down. Things get a bit X-rated when we return to the banging school locker and find out that someone performed some messy conolingus and tore that pussy up. Pussycat, get your minds out of the gutter. And we come to an area that looks a lot like a boss stage fight area. And, shocker, it is. After dumping some of your extra ammo into the stranger than stranger things like boss, he does a slow-mo death, and existence seems to fade back into reality. Trust me, it's not really supposed to make sense. Harry sees the girl that's caused him to wreck his Jeep, fades out of existence as well. Harry walks through, down, and the way he sees it, some alcohol and religion probably sound pretty good right now. While walking through the town of Silent Hill, he hears some bells sounding off in the distance. You follow the sound of these bells and it leads you to a church. Harry goes into this nearby church and runs into well, let's be real here, a creepy old lady who gives off some Walking Dead vibe. She just, well, her name is Delilah Gillespie, and she leaves just as weirdly as you entered. But anyway, she leaves you this artifact, and it looks a lot like the Triforce, only 3D. It's a triangle of triangles. Weird. After leaving the church, Harry finds a drawbridge and lowers it, and gives him access to other parts of town. Which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because he's trying to find his daughter. And how is an 8-year-old who wouldn't know how to work a drawbridge get to the other side before it fully erased? I mean, I know it's kind of unrealistic, and this whole game is, well, strange, but trust me, crazy and stranger things have and will continue to happen. On the other side of this bridge, Harry enters Silent Hill Hospital, where he runs into Dr. Michael Kaufman, who immediately shoots Harry point blank in the gut. Harry, now having been scared shitless, stabbed by naked ghost children, been to hell a time or two, just seems to shrug this bullet off like most people shoo away flies. Harry explores a creepy old hospital, and the other world takes over again, and Harry finds a room with bloodstained bed and a picture of the girl that wrecked his Jeep. And in the corner of this photo, the name Alyssa is written, which is kind of weird. I don't think anybody really puts their name on the front of a photo, or maybe I'm just looking too much into this. Harry makes his way back up from this really creepy and, well, disgusting room, and runs into a nurse that likes to give hugs and really creepy PS1 era smiles. Aww. So cute. After having a short conversation, Harry starts to hear blaring sirens that are so loud it seems to be hearing it from inside of his head. Nurse Lisa Garland tries to help Harry, but just before she can, he again faints like a little bitch baby, and sees Alessa, the Jeep Destroyer, walking into a nearby bar. The crazy Triforce lady shows up again and tells Harry to go to the other church in town, because he needs his ass some religion. At this point, I would have rather just said, fuck it, she's not my real daughter, I tried. Time to be a single bachelor and hook up with the sexy blonde biker cop. Speaking of which, After finding a hole in the wall, Harry enters alone and tells Sybil to stay behind, as if she's not the trained police officer in this situation. Harry enters a weird shrine room and wakes up in a hospital talking to Lisa Garland again, weirdly enough. After an extended long scene of her over-explaining things, Harry ends up back in the other world, now fighting a giant caterpillar. Trust me, I don't think it's meant to make sense either. After riddling this big-ass caterpillar with some bullets, the creature retreats and apparently had gained enough XP in this fight with Harry to level up into a giant moth. You fight this giant moth on the top of a radio tower, and the screen flashes white, and boom, you're back in regular old foggy Silent Hill, for better or worse. After killing Mothra, finally, Harry wants to go to get a Budweiser, and Lord knows we've all earned it. And he runs into the gut-shooting Dr. Kaufman, saving him from getting attacked by a demon dog. After a short back-and-forth conversation, Harry goes off and explores the bar, finding an old motorcycle in the garage. After looking at the bike and wishing he was a singular bachelor, he finds a red bottle of mystery fluid, and the shitty doctor comes in and starts acting like a prick, making this bottle of red stuff seem like it's really important to him, or the story, or us, or the overall plot, even though it's not emphasized very much. Anyway, Harry says, fuck this, prick, I'm gonna go hang out with the sexy biker cop and old Triforce lady. After another long-ass conversation, the three of them come up with the idea that there's only two places left for Harry's daughter in this entire town of Silent Hill, and that is the lighthouse or the amusement park. Harry takes the lighthouse, while Sybil takes the amusement park. The crazy old lady just takes nothing. She just leaves. After finding nothing at the lighthouse, Harry decides to join sexy blonde biker cop at the amusement park. Amusement park. But since this is Silent Hill and we have our third and final act that we're getting into, some shit has to go down. And after arriving at the amusement park, Harry finds Sybil in a wheelchair, and she gets up, clearly dazed and confused, and begins to lurch at you like a zombie with a gun in her hand. And this is another little mini boss fight, but I gotta say, Konami back then really knew how to have fun. If you run around this merry-go-round in circles, you actually have a little bit of a cool thing. Sybil will actually sit on a horse and watch your dumbass run round and round. After slapping the shit out of Sybil and she collapses to the ground, the spine demon disconnects from her and Harry love taps it twice with his boot. That doesn't make any sense. And that somehow was enough to kill it. After curb stomping the spine fetus, Harry cares for Sybil in some way. He just bends down and starts talking to her, and we get a somewhat stylized recap of how Harry and his now dead wife found a baby in a ditch outside of the town of Silent Hill. Instead of taking the baby to the hospital or calling, I don't know, the police, Harry and his unnamed wife took the baby home and raised it as their own, because finding ditch babies is a very common, normal, everyday thing, I guess. And you take these children home like puppies. There's no need for a social security number or birth certificate or, any level of important documents. Just take little ditch baby home, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you end up doing crazy shit in otherworldly activities like in this game. Being too lazy to go to a hospital, check the baby out, and make a police report. Probably would have saved this entire game from ever happening. After telling a police officer this needlessly long story of kidnapping, which, let's not kid ourselves here, that's what Harry and his wife did, we apparently leave Sybil bleeding from her spine on the merry-go-round to go off exploring. I'm sure she'll be fine. We run into Alessa, who uses some Jedi force push thing on Harry, Harry says, "I see your Star Wars and I raise you one Legend of Zelda," and uses the Triforce to shut down Elise's Jedi powers long enough for the creepy old Triforce lady to reveal that being old and creepy also makes you evil. Apparently. We find out the Triforce lady is Alessa's mother, and Alessa being bad, I guess, is a problem. I don't know. To be honest with you, at this point I lost track of what the fuck's happening. After the Triforce lady and the newly acquired Jedi teleport away, you find yourself somehow back with Nurse Ratched. She seems like a really nice lady, but after hearing the name Alessa, our nurse friend freaks out and runs from Harry like he's annoyed trying to destroy her pizza. After catching up with the good nurse, with the memories of Alessa now coursing through her veins, Nurse Lisa begins to bleed from her head. More and more blood begins to run down her face as she slowly loses herself to madness of the other world. So, Nurse Lisa Garland is number 1, all the way in the third act of the game. She's number 1 on our kill count. Because we only count human deaths, and she dies and turns into a zombie, I think. I'm not sure if she's gonna come back from this one. I don't know. Harry barricades the door in horror. After a bunch of exploring, Harry finds an old TV and presses play on a VCR. The terrible truth is revealed that this girl named Alessa was bullied and believed to be a witch. She was burned so bad that her skin looked as black and burned as charcoal, and a fury built up within her, and that fury fractured the world into multiple dimensions. That and the town that she lives in is full of cultists and devil worshippers, so that might play a little part in it. After a little bit more exploring, you see some shadow ghosts, and you find out that they saved Alessa from her bad burns, and the cultists are drawing some form of power from her. Even her own mother, Triforce Lady, is now allowing this to happen, because this is a flashback, I guess. Alessa's fury is getting stronger and stronger, and the stronger she gets, the more divided dimensions and reality split and begin to occur more often. Some of the cult members believe she's getting weaker, while others believe that she is getting stronger. Somehow, someone came up with the idea to impregnate poor Alessa, who is now an adult, but is still bedridden due to her severe burns. The version of her that we've been seeing around town is like a mental projection giving physical form. This baby that Alessa was carrying was believed by some to be her successor, or Alessa was going to use the baby to split her soul into 2. However, the cultists had other ideas. They were going to use Alessa's unborn baby to be a vessel for their devil demon god thing. After pushing on, we come to a giant boss fight-like area, and the final conflict of our story is set. We have Triforce Lady, her daughter, yet mental and physical self, and a woman in a wheelchair. It is revealed to us that the woman in the wheelchair is Alessa, and the mental Jedi version of Alessa that we've been chasing all over town is actually our adoptive daughter, Cheryl, or Sherry, whatever you want to call her. The entire time, she was right in front of us. We've seen her multiple times. Why none of this was put together or planned out a little bit better story-wise, I don't know. But apparently being back in Silent Hill and closer to her original form forced the two mental, physical connections to transfer into each other. Apparently the baby that originally was from 8 years ago was Alessa's version, or a good version of herself that she transferred to this baby, which ended up in the ditch that Harry and his unnamed wife got and refused to report, and raised her for 8 years. And in that 8 years, the other tortured side of Alessa's soul got more and more angry, creating these different versions of Silent Hill that we had the nightmare time of navigating. Well, surprise, surprise, Alessa is pregnant again and about to give birth, making the cultists want to go through with their plan again, that Alessa is whole, or as near to whole as they need. But Alessa tricked her Triforce mother. She changed reality to make her mother think she was bringing to life this demon god thing, but in fact she was only making Alessa herself more powerful by making her whole once again. It's kind of one of those things where, like, the evil side of her got more evil, but the good side of her got more good, and coming together again kind of like just makes Voltron. I don't know, that makes about probably as much sense as the game does. So Alessa forms the Ultron version of herself, and just as it seems like Alessa is about to get things to go her way for once and make her evil, shitty mother pay for all the bad things she did to her, in enters Dr. Dickhead, and he tosses that suspicious bottle of red fluid that he bitched at us about earlier. This bottle was meant to do one thing, that was to stop Alessa's evil side, but again, that was kind of another ruse, and this bottle of red mysterious liquid instead amplifies her evil side. And in all honesty, we get this really cool effect. The good version of Alessa turns into this devil demon, and we get this really cool, like, lightning attack. And it's not cool just, like, by PS1 standards. Even by today's standards, I think that this lightning is really creepy and cool at the same time. But anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, so you killed this demon thing with bullets like you would, and this allows Alessa to regain control, and Alessa again takes the good of her soul and transfers it into this unborn new baby that somehow is wrapped in a towel. Harry takes this baby too and begins to run away with Sybil. Zombie nurse Lisa reappears and drags Dr. Dickhead down to hell, just as Harry and Sybil are about to be burned by the falling fire, rain, trash stuff. I don't know what the hell this is. In a last act of kindness, Alessa pauses the falling fire long enough so that Sybil and Harry can escape with the new version of Ditch Baby. So that makes our new kill count, since it all kind of happened at once. Let's see, 5, I think. We're just going to go at 5. It's kind of muddy because we got Nurse Lady, Dr. Dick, Triforce Mama, Alessa / Cheryl / Burned Alessa. So I don't know if that counts as one person or 3. Anyway, Sybil and Harry, along with new Ditch Baby, find themselves coming to on the outskirts of Silent Hill. I don't know if Sybil and Harry got together and raised new Ditch Baby. Seems kind of weird. Sybil's never mentioned again in Silent Hill 3, which, spoiler alert, is kind of a direct sequel to the original Silent Hill, which we just got done watching. That always kind of confused me. Seems like they got together. We'll just assume they got together. But basically, this game is really creepy. It's really awesome. The story's kind of weird, scatterbrained. It seems more random and crazy every time I play it, in all honesty. I think the next few games keep, and in some cases actually ramp up, the scares and creep factor. The stories after this game, I just feel like they're a lot more thought out and put together. I don't know if maybe something got lost in translation, because these games, for those of you that don't know, were originally made for a Japanese market and then were translated to English by Konami. Kind of the same thing like with Metal Gear and, you know, Castlevania, I believe do the same thing. They make a Japanese version first, and then they either dub or make a you know, different lip sync version for different languages. So Konami makes America or English-speaking countries their second market, I believe. But this is a great game to play around Halloween time. The original deserves to have a modern remake / retelling, and not in a shitty, gimmicky way like they did with the Wii. I mean an actual full-on remake, because sadly, I mean, it's not really sadly, but the original is one of the best Silent Hill games, and it's probably the best intro into the Silent Hill franchise as a whole. Even though, speaking of whole, Harry Mason runs like he has a corncob stuck up his. That's probably the weirdest thing about this game, is that, for people that are under the age of like 25, they're going to see the graphics of this game and immediately be turned off by it. And honestly, this game is a feast of creepiness, nostalgia, and horror. The atmospheres are absolutely nailed, and they make you feel intense, and they make you think in the situation, they make you adapt on the fly. It's more, to me anyway, it seems like it's more resource heavy than Resident Evil was, because you gotta, find that ammo, and you have to end up saving it for bosses, so that it ends up with you running more than you fight. So you gotta kind of be strategic a little bit more, I think anyway. But anyway, that's all I'm gonna have for you guys in this video. Take care, have a good weekend, have a happy Halloween. Next weekend we're gonna do Silent Hill 2, and we'll see you then. Bye.